Take your sweet ass time. And we are live. Fanboy Modeling School. Welcome, Fanboy Modeling School. I am the Fat Mantis, now in HD, and I'm here with my homie,
Steve. Real name, no gimmicks. What's going on, brother?
I'm living the dream right now, and you know what? I'm filled with dread, and I'm loving it.
Oh, okay. Why are you filled with dread? I like
Never
that.
tell you why I love Halloween.
Yeah, just the other night. Yeah, drunk.
So, here's what it is. We talked about the shallow nature of Halloween. For everyone wondering what he's talking about, we did a pretty long radio show. It's been broken up and edited into probably the 3 greatest nights of Halloween madness you'll ever expect. We hit up almost every angle of Halloween, and you can find that on the Riz Radio Halloween special edition party that's going on tonight, tomorrow, and of course Halloween night. We've got all your best celebrities, guest appearances, DJs, call-ins, and giveaways in, of course, today's best music, all happening at rizradio.com, or you can find us on Live 365 app. Now, getting back into it, we talked about the shallowness of Halloween, why we love Halloween, certain things about Halloween, movies, candy, yada, yada, yada. Why do I really love it, though?
Why do you really love it, bro?
Because it's the only holiday that celebrates a negative emotion. Okay. That emotion is fear, my friend. It shows you to conquer your fear, to master it. People are either scared of monsters, ghouls, and gremlins, or they're scared of scantily clad girls. Let's face it, we all are. And there's a lot of that on Halloween night, right?
Right. I can dig it, man. I can dig it.
That's what it is. And so I am filled with dread for 2 reasons. One, Halloween is on the verge. It's going to be all the things that go bump in the night, all the things that scare us. But also, my friend, it's going to be just a few days away from the election.
Oh, that was a clean setup right there, man. Recommend Beck's Shaolin Ice Boxer. Before we get into that madness, it's my job. Mantis actually pays me a whopping $5 every time I do this. So that's why I always say it. Make sure you tune in to Fanboy Modeling School on rizradio.com, Riz Radio Live 365. Man, you're home for independent radio. This is what hosts this great show. And back to the election.
Thanks for letting everyone know I'm cheap.
Well, I mean, I say that shit like 50 times a show, man. I could fairly compensate it. Let's not get it twisted. Laney is in the building. What's up, Laney?
Look what Beck said.
Bad hair day, Steve. Yes, I have to. You boys got to get cut, man. I suffer from something called acidulation. It's something that Bex knows that I'm paranoid about. My hair starts to get to a certain length and it loses a certain strong black luster. So when that starts to happen, I cover my hair.
I thought you were just one of those guys who was obsessed with the fresh cut.
No, I mean, I'm obsessed with
you be getting them more often than anyone I know.
I'm obsessed with a fresh cut, but I'm also not trying to have my hair look a certain way. Bex, we stay black, we stay strong here.
Exactly. Remember, your blackness and your strength is in your hair. Don't get it too short.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
And of course, we got the lovely Laney-O, a welcome in fan. She said,
Dragon Lady in the house. My poor mother was down near 34th Street, going to the Old Navy with my younger sibling. and they were there the day that Trump had the rally at the friggin' Madison Square Garden. Now,
just the other day. You're saying the one that everyone's saying is a Nazi rally.
So listen, my mom is not reactionary, but apparently while she was walking around, there was a lot of physical altercations nearly about to break out. And my mother was like, she hasn't experienced anything like that since the old school Irish Day parades and the St. Patty's Day parades back in the day in New York. If you grew up in New York, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It wasn't safe to be down there as a black person during the old heyday of the St. Patty's.
No, definitely during the old heyday, but you know,
but, listen. I'm gonna take my mom at face value. Apparently, there were arguments breaking out left and right as they were walking to Old Navy, like people getting into it with each other.
I'm sure liberals were starting a lot of fights that night.
That is your one weakness. That's the one chink in your armor, that you can look at a clip and see Trumpsters acting irrationally. You're just a Trumpster apologist.
No, but let's get seriously.
Right.
I know a lot of Trumpsters are troublemakers. They're fighters, and a lot of them are actually I'm going to say borderline white supremacists. Because to be honest, I think a lot of them don't even have. I don't even think they have the balls to go full white supremacist.
Okay,
I will say that I made a joke about the left causing trouble. The left causes trouble with their mouth, but they're usually like too stupid to be able to fight, so they don't really know what they're doing. They're betas.
Yeah. There's no hand-eye coordination there.
And I'm not gonna lie, other than the white supremacy thing, that's kind of like why I like Trump. I like that his followers are gonna beat somebody's ass.
I've seen a lot of Trump followers, man, and let's just say that maybe most of them I've seen have 15 seconds of a good fight in them. They tend not to be your most physically fit, the ones at least on TV. Now, obviously,
I mean, you know what? It's so funny that we are speaking the most dangerous type of rhetoric right now, because we're basically like pitting the political parties against each other and wondering who would beat whose ass.
Broad generalizations, man. That's the only way.
I say throwing gasoline on the flames, right?
Yeah, listen, and it falls on Fanboy, the actual election. Looks like we're having some stream problems. I'm getting some refreshes going on. Y'all stay with us though, man. Doesn't matter what happens. We say something bad about the election and YouTube gives us some shit. We're still here. Don't you worry. We'll come right back. But yeah, next week, man, it's upon us. You got your Harris Walsh t-shirt ready for their imminent victory.
Well, I have a little thing set up for our stream for next week. And so basically what it is, I have ordered a Trump cap and a Kamala cap. And basically I'm going to switch it on and off depending who's winning at the time.
That's a good way to trick the algorithm for sure.
They won't know what I am, just like in life. Is he black? Is he white? I don't even know. All we know is this motherfucker's coming for you. So basically what it is this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. How would you describe the energy levels for Democrats? I'll say a week and a half ago.
Oh man. I gotta keep it a band with you, Mantis. I've been actually avoiding a lot of political commentary, but not for the reasons that you think. It's not stealing my piece. My piece can't be stolen that easily. I've been avoiding a lot of stuff with any social representation, like of the constituency, because like you were alluding to earlier, both sides have really managed to just turn me off with their lack of ability to articulate their arguments, man. It really has disintegrated into like a bunch of blue hair people dressed weird and a bunch of flag wearing people like running around.
No, absolutely. It is really disgusting. But as you know, I watch reality television. I love disgusting people doing disgusting things on my television. But the question I was trying to fish from you, the answer, was that since Harris came aboard and she started her momentum, what do they call it? The politics of joy. That's what the New York Times coined her campaign, the politics of joy, meaning she doesn't actually have a platform. She's just saying, at least I'm not associated with evil or something, kind of thing.
Right.
They really felt they had it in the bag. The media would have convinced you that she had it in the bag. They're dancing on Republicans' graves for the last couple of weeks, and up until about a week and a half ago, this was the energy. The idea was like, Trump is gone. We're gonna put him, we're gonna put him in a rocket ship and send him into the sun, right? Then all of a sudden, everyone is acting like she's gonna lose. People are saying polls are flipping on her.
Yeah.
She's not polling well anywhere. And I want to know, is this just political drama that the news is trying to put me through?
It's a lot of political theater, man, and this is not new, man. This is not new. I just think that it's closer than it has been in a few decades in regards to the two the two candidates running. And, for a while, like you said, depending on who you were listening to, she was leading, making inroads in places, and her speeches were so uplifting. And then recently with, the Houston rally and Beyonce coming out, and listen, I want to give Beyonce a pass, which I normally wouldn't do. Beyonce has never been known as this like spectacular orator, right? So her speech falling flat didn't surprise me. I've never looked to Beyonce for any social commentary.
I certainly haven't. Is that what some people were expecting?
Well, people were giving her shit because they were like, it was a lackluster endorsement, and then Mama Knowles came up and they were giving her shit as well.
What do they want from her, man? She's an entertainer. Yeah, say your piece, move on, maybe sing a song later. Come back when we need to be entertained.
Bring the clown.
I'll put a 5 in that G string of yours while you're performing for us.
But right now, like I was saying, it depends on who you're watching, man. Obviously, I've been following both sides of the commentary on social media and on YouTube, so I'll tune in to the usual suspects on the right and the left. So I've been watching a lot of Daily Wire, the Rubin Report, all those folks over there. And then for the left, I've been watching a lot of Young Turks and Destiny. And
oh wow, yeah, you really are watching the opposite.
Yeah. And you can see why my day is almost utterly ruined by 9 a.m. By at least 10 o'clock, I've watched more content than most people will watch in their entire life. And I'm just watching it. And to answer your question, yeah, man. Even the Young Turks are like, man, she's fallen flat in certain places, and they're just speaking to the obvious pitfalls that she's had as a candidate, man. It's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good. Like,
part of me thinks they're trying to psych me out just to get clicks, and then the night of, she's gonna like destroy it.
I mean, I would not be surprised if she won. I would not be surprised if he won. That's how close it is, man. Because he's not doing as well as people like to believe. You know what I'm saying? Like He just isn't.
Obviously. And so you know what it is that it's funny, for every time he makes a good argument or a good point, he then will say something that will make people disgusted by him. Like, for instance, what the comedian said at the Madison Square Garden thing. Like you heard about this.
Yeah, I said something colorful about the island of Puerto Rico.
Yeah, what a lovely place. Here's what it is. I thought I was an ass when I used to tell people, they're like, how's Puerto Rico? I'm like, you really can't tell the difference between that and Yonkers.
Right.
Which is true. But now that this guy has said this, I feel fine saying a comment like that in mixed company. Because calling it a floating what do you say, a floating pile of garbage?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy, man? You know what's crazy? How many rich, affluent people have moved to Puerto Rico because of the tax breaks and the cheap land, because Puerto Rico, it is struggling, bro. No, I'm not saying it's a floating island of trash, but it's struggling, man. It's struggling. I feel for the native Puerto Ricans that live on that island, man, and what's going on. And then they're doing that whole thing they did in Jamaica where they're restricting the natives from going to the beach. Are you up to speed on this?
Well, I know of this from various islands. I've heard this complaint coming from all sorts of places, like Trinidad, Jamaica, all sorts of places.
Yeah.
It's similar to like in Fiji, over in the other ocean. They don't let the locals drink the water because it's reserved for bottling and it's being shipped to America and sold to us.
Yeah.
And so the locals have to drink dirty water.
It's rough, man. I know you're going to see Venom tomorrow. and there are some people in the audience that probably are going to see it. So I'm going to keep this spoiler free. But I did go see the movie today.
Okay.
With my son. Now, I want you to bear in mind that my son is on the spectrum and he loves the character Venom, right? The movie representation. He loves that shit, man. He put on his little Venom hoodie and his little Venom pants. And, we took pictures in front of all the stuff you do with a kid when you go to the movie theater. He absolutely loved the movie. I will say this on the movie's behalf, according to my opinion. It was the best Venom of the three. Now, however you want to interpret that or where the bar is set for that, of the three, this was probably the most complete movie, man. Tom Hardy is an amazing actor. I laughed more during this movie than I did any of the other ones. And it wasn't because I was laughing at the movie's expense. Like, it had some funny parts and it had some interesting action. In fact, it actually seemed like they finally got the action down in this movie.
Well, that's good. Honestly, I hate the way they depict them.
Yeah.
The way they depict the symbiote, it's very clunky. It's very weird the way they do it. It's really gross, actually. The comic book Venom, the way it moves, it's supposed to be like a liquid.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be it flows like water, but this is just like mucus or something. So I'm actually surprised that they did good on the action.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, man. You know what's been a great Venom representation? I'm sure you haven't played it yet, but if you have, let me know. The official Spider-Man 2 game for Sony. That version of Venom, which is basically loosely based on the ultimate version of Venom, is actually really, really cool, man. And I got to tell you, Venom and Kraven in that game, when they finally come head to head, I'm like, this is a good story. This is a good story, man. Because let's keep it a band, man. Kraven in the comics, to me, I was always that guy like, are we really going to pretend like this guy is a threat to anyone else besides Daredevil and Spider-Man?
Right. It's ridiculous. And they're giving him his own movie. They are giving this dude his own movie.
Man, you and me, opening day, big guy. We're going to be one of 5 people in the theater.
The Adventures of Lion Man. Right? In the chat, Laney O says, you always throw gas on the flames.
Yeah.
She also says, yep, fully, this country is going to...
Yep.
Pokey in the house. What up, Pokes? What else we got here? Dragon Lady says, I think a woman has no business being the president, and America deserves better than an idiot and a moron.
Whoa.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel? Just hold it back, Dragon Lady.
Which one's the idiot and which one's the moron? Yo, Kamala just, man, every opportunity she's had to run away with this thing, she really has handed it back, man. Not to pivot from Venom, but she really has handed it back, man. Like, she just, right?
No, I absolutely agree. And so let me ask you, did you see Trump on Rogan?
No, clips. I haven't seen the whole thing yet.
So I actually watched I listened to the whole thing while I did other things. Okay. It's a chore. It's a chore. No wonder I don't listen to Rogan more. It is a chore getting through a 3-episode of anything, really. Yeah, 3 hours is just insane. That's like a chunk of your day. So I think I did 2.5 hours, and I felt like I knew enough. Right. But I have to say, the most brilliant part about it all, it absolutely humanizes Trump. It makes it impossible for you to believe he's a Nazi. He seems like a grandfather, a jokester, a regular dude. And he actually, when he had these opportunities, they're few, but there's times that he talks about things, and he's so educated, and he's particularly educated on economics and financial stuff. I think people think that he has a dartboard, and he puts terms up in the thing, and he just throws it, and he's like, that's what I'm going to do. No, right. He actually knows what he's talking about. And he was talking about tariffs. I couldn't even follow what he was saying because, he knew what he was talking about.
That's interesting, man, because some people would accuse Trump of doing what a lot of people would do, which is because of my lack of knowledge. Anything you say sounds amazing because I don't fully grasp what you're talking about. So I do know this, man. I know on a one-on-one interview, he does much better than her because he is a personable guy. He has that ability to be personable during a conversation, while she, on the other hand, seems to struggle with basic human emotions. Like, and it seems like the only thing she can be is the narrative presented about her. And I feel bad for her in that regard. And what I mean by that is when she goes into an interview, one of these softball interviews, and make no mistake, this was a softball interview for Trump as well, in my opinion. When she goes into it, she's completely trapped in the narrative that's being presented about her, right? She's trapped in the narrative that she's a champion for women. She's trapped in the narrative that she's a champion for minorities. She's trapped in all these social narratives, and she can't have a human moment because she has to stick to that script, right?
Like Joe Siwa.
Yeah. And even when she is speaking to these issues, right, which are important issues, right, it doesn't come across as sincere, because you're also like, well, wait, you were heavy-handed as a prosecutor, you were heavy-handed as a DA, and how do these two things mesh with each other? I don't, and she went on a podcast too. I don't know who, it's some young lady.
Call Me Daddy.
Yeah.
So that's the most listened to podcast for young women.
Right.
It's people say it's the female version of Joe Rogan. And so Call Me Daddy is like, I don't know where this girl gets her critiques. All I know is that she's dated and banged a lot of dudes, and the show is entirely about sex. I've seen clips of it, right. And there are times like when Matt Walsh talks about her, he beeps almost the entire clip.
Really?
Because the women will be talking about just they're talking about very candid sexual stuff,
right?
And so that's the podcast she went on.
And it sounds like another critique I've heard of her is that she lacks the ability to just have a normal conversation, right? That a lot of people have accused her of being of an industry plant, because where does she come from? What's her pedigree? How long has she been doing content creation?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I do not know who this chick is, but she gets paid a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah, I don't know where these types of people come from, but it is bizarre. Yeah, but I think you're right. It probably is an industry plant, and so she's perfect for the industry plant of presidential candidates, Kamala Harris, right? Yeah. And so they talked about abortion all the time. They brought up the usual, the usual arguments that are just like deranged or whatever.
Yeah, usually talking points.
But do you think Kamala really messed up by not going on Joe Rogan, as she was invited to? And she actually said, apparently, and Joe Rogan didn't say this, he just said she declined. But what she had said, it's been leaked. What happened is he said, "You want to come on my show?" And she was like, and he's like, people can see the real you. And she said, "Okay, only if you come to me. You have to fly across country. I only have 1 hour, and I have to have the questions first." And Joe Rogan was like, "No."
Yeah, I don't I'm not that's funny that that rubs me the wrong way when people request the questions first, right?
Oh my god, guys, in the podcasting world, only the worst humans alive will ask questions ahead of time.
It's so crazy because like they always say, I just want to make sure I sound professional. I'm like, what, are you not able to have a conversation? Like, and did I ever say this was going to be an expose? Like,
right. But another thing is like none of these podcasts, particularly the Joe Rogan Experience, are gotcha journalism. It's not like he's going to ask such a complicated question that you won't have an answer. He's going to ask you how you, like, for instance, one of his questions for Trump, which took up a long time, is he said, "How did you feel when you thought you were going to lose, but you won the presidency?" That's a good question. Anyone should be able to answer that, and he did, and he did it real well. But I'm just saying, the fact that she's scared of questions like that is totally beyond me, man.
But it's crazy, man. I do enjoy Joe's interviewing style, because a part of interviewing, man, is like, open-ended questions and, repeating the question or rephrasing or reframing the question. And I know how that can infuriate people, but let me give you the side of the interviewer, right? It's my job, or it's our job, to have people understand what the fuck it is you represent, or what you're saying, or what your backstory is. And there's nothing worse than when you ask a question which is simple in nature and a person can only pull together 5 words to answer it. Or something that really annoys me, when they proceed their answer with the Yeah, not really something I've given a lot of thought about. I'm like, how did you not give a lot of thought about this? This question is about you. The question was, how did you come to this position where you're at?
and that's another thing is that, if that's the worst answer ever, because the person's like, I haven't given any thought. Well, okay, now's the time to think about it. You're on stream, or you're on television, or you're on radio. Now's the time to think about it. You know what I'm saying? And the fact, here's what I'm saying. There is probably, I wouldn't say something wrong with you, but like, you're probably not the sharpest tool in the shed if you can't think up an answer in front of things, right? Well, and so I should be able to go up to anyone and be like, excuse me, oh, you own a Porsche? How do you feel about your Porsche? And any intelligent person should be able to come up with a few sentences on that.
And here's the crazy thing. Most people would be able to answer that question if they owned a Porsche, and they'd be like, man, I love it, man. Or at least the maintenance is horrible. I love it. And they would give you some answer based off of their experience with said item, right? The type of people wouldn't like, and I've scrapped a lot of interviews, man. And some of them have made it through that should not have made it through. And I always give a person a chance to answer the question. I'd be like, all right, maybe that one was too difficult. Me asking you why blue is your favorite color. Let me rephrase it. And then I'll rephrase the question, try to make it even simpler. Like, so there's red, there's green, gray is not a color, nor black or white. How does blue work for you?
And you know who are good interviewers? Probably why Trump is so good. Narcissists.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we may hate narcissists, but a narcissist always has something to say, particularly about themselves, and they make interesting interviews. Right?
They always do, man. They always do. You know why? Because on top of thinking about themselves, they think about things that relate to them about themselves.
Right. They'll find a way to go from Brussels sprouts to how they achieved in life. Right? Like they'll find a quick way in there.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is, man, going on a show like Joe Rogan, like I said, man, that's not her bag, right? Because even look what happened to poor Gupta, right? Gupta is used to doing segment things, very formatted. Not even just talking points on CNN, right? He's a medical correspondent, and he comes in, they probably proofread, as they should, everything, that he's about to say. He's reading from a teleprompter, but now here you are sitting across from a table from someone, and it's an organic conversation, and Joe goes to so many different places, and you never get lost in the conversation. It's just like, that's what happens in the conversation. 1 minute you're talking about monkeys, and then you're like, "Oh man, aliens!" Right? And then,
but another thing in terms of like Sanjay Gupta and a bunch of these other guys that he gets, I love it because when they're mainstream media, the mainstream media gives them a pass on everything they can do. They could do misinformation and lying 1 minute, and the next time they're interviewed, they will never be called on it. And I love that. Like, it's crazy that Gupta goes on his show and doesn't expect Rogan to call him on things he said publicly. And that's all Rogan does is he's like, hey, by the way, you said this in this article. How do you defend that? And so, what I do love is another thing is if you watch it, he does not shill for Donald Trump. There are times where he gives pushback. Anytime Donald Trump makes an accusation, he will give him pushback. He'll be like, I have a lot of enemies that, there's a whole conspiracy out to get me. He's like, really? How is there a conspiracy? And then he'll be saying, he's like, do you have proof of this? And like he actually was giving a pushback. Or when he started a tariff question, Trump started talking about tariffs and how they're going to be good for us, raising them. And then he was like, really? How's that? Explain that to me. Break that down to me.
Yeah.
And then Trump actually was able to break down how he thinks it's going to be better than taxes. So.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it's not her bag, man. It's not her bag. And there are a lot of people on the internet that probably at this point, depending on what type of channel you're on, would say it's because she's a woman. And that is most certainly not what, Mantis and I are saying, because I've met so many intelligent women that can hold a conversation and they are able to go back and forth. And it's like, you believe something passionately, like there's a mass conspiracy, say for instance, to tear you down and imprison you. You're probably going to be able to articulate that. But if you're the type of person who's got an entire team working around you and the only thing they're really worried about is protecting your image, Well, there's a lack of sincerity there, right? Whenever you're more concerned about your public image and how your public image relates to talking points, you're always going to come off disingenuous in just in my opinion, man. That's why I don't believe in image consultants, right? This was my thing against Kevin Samuels. If I had anything against him, I'm like, we shouldn't be focusing on the image of anything. We should be focusing on what are the issues, not how we look, but how we're dealing with and what the solutions are. You know
that's my issue with Red Pill in general. And it's funny. People are like, well, Mantis, you don't have a problem with the crazy things they say. Not as much as I have a problem with the fact that it's shallow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If Red Pill wasn't shallow, it would be a great philosophy. But it's always based on shallowness, and right. And so instead of they'll be like, how many bitches did you tag?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Are you driving the right sports car?
Right.
And I'm like, your mindset is in the complete wrong place, yo. And so you're not actually being helpful to young men out there.
Yo, and it's crazy, man. This is always my knock with feminist commentators and fucking like red pillars, man. I'm like, you have exactly, possibly at best 3,000 words that you are able to utilize to get your point across. Once we reach the end of your script, that's it. Like, Candace Owens has only managed to stay on top in regards to not being completely humiliated in a debate because she has 4,000 words where the other person she's talking to has 3,000. Like, there's so many things that she said out loud where I'm just like, man, they really should have pressed her on that. Like, and again, another good example of how good Joe Rogan is at what he does, man. When he had Candace Owens on, when she was still a budding social media star coming up, they got into the conversation of global warming, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't think that's real." And he asked her the question. He's like, "Why? Why don't you think that's real?" You know, in the face of all the data that suggests that it is real, what is your counterpoint to it? And her counterpoint was, "Well, I just think it's overly politicized." But that doesn't mean it's not.
It doesn't mean it's not real. As a matter of fact, if it's over politicized, that statement alone admits that it's a thing.
Yeah.
And therefore real. Right? And so I gotta say, I love Candace and I will defend her most of the time. I will say I do not like this conspiracy theorist wormhole she finds herself in. And it's very clickbaity. She's doing the worst stories to stay on top, to stay relevant.
It's a strange place, man. And but again, man, let me put it to you this way, right? I'm not going to be surprised by whoever wins next week. I do want to talk to you about something that is important, but in no way, shape, or form as important as the election. Are you aware of a rapper by the name of Lil Durk?
So, of course I am, because I actually remember that this is so funny. So we were on the last app, and I'm not talking about Spoon. It's the new nameless app that we don't discuss.
Right.
And where we're radio DJing, and I was like, when Little Durk's All My Life, featuring what's his face, I was so impressed with this song, and I was like, "Yo, have you heard this song?" And I remember you dissed the shit out of the song. You were like,
so bad, man.
So here's what it is. I kind of even like him as a rapper, but I'll put it like this: I like him as a shallow rapper.
Okay.
Right? And so he's one of my shallow rappers. I do like him. And obviously, I know what you're about to bring up. You're going to have to announce it to the audience, but I am in shock, bro. I am in shock.
So, Lil Durk, to I don't think anyone's surprise, is now in custody of the feds or the police, the Hudas, whatever you want to call them, because of murder and conspiracy to commit or facilitate murder. Now, a little background on Lil Durk, man. He is a rapper from Chicago, and I think a lot of people who have recently been introduced to Lil Durk, it has been because of a documentary that went up on YouTube about another Chicago rapper by the name of King Von. And you know, why would I say it when I can just let the news explain it and then we'll break it down? I sent you a link Also, I went over to Spoon right now because I was like, "Oh shit, did that shit die?" Yeah, I'm like, but it's still up. It's still up. When's the last day?
Tomorrow is the last day, and so actually, real quick before, if we're talking about Spoon right now, just real quick, I want to talk about something. I went on Spoon today, and I just listening or whatever, and there was somebody who I traditionally have beef with. This person, we've had the best of times together, and we've had the worst. This person has accused me of things. This person tried to ruin my reputation. They tried to say I was a creeper, all sorts of stuff. And they had beef with the Men Supporting Men crew. You probably know who I'm talking about. And so this person's doing their live stream on the app, and I go in there. And this girl, she's so happy to see me. And she's just like, oh, my God, this is the end. Man, T, how you doing, man? And saying nothing but sweet things. And it's funny, while I was in that stream, just listening to her, I had become sentimental. And I forgot all the problems that we had. And I had a feeling the way she was talking, she had forgotten them as well.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. And I mean that. That's, does this person's name start with a D, or is this the crazy Australian?
Oh no, the crazy Australian, F that bitch. she ain't getting forgiven for anything, man. That bitch, I'm waiting. I'm counting the days till she drinks herself to death.
Okay. That's amazing.
Laney may have guessed it.
Mo.
Yeah. So basically what it is, it's no, it wasn't Mo, it was Me, actually. It was Me.
Okay.
Ultimately, it was cute, it was sentimental and all this stuff. And I was like, and I said to her before I left Spoon, because I was at work, I had to work, and I was like, thank you for being part of my Spoon journey. It has been like an honor to know you. And then I left or whatever.
Oh, look at you, man. Big spiritual balls. Shout out to
Mantis. So she can come on Riz Radio if she wants. No cap.
Bro, I've no word from Mo though. Actually, it's funny because I think her social's dead too, man. Shout out to Emmy, man. Shout out to her and quite frankly the GOAT and Ferris the artist, man. Doing those interviews when we first started Riz Radio. Had a great time talking to them. I need to plug back into them, get some more of those fine Midwestern people back on the show.
Yes, you should see what they're up to. No, that would be really cool. Mo is like a lot of other people that they have fallen off the map.
Right.
And where did people scatter to? I don't know, but I will say that as much as I talk shit about Spoon, I will always remember Spoon. It meant I met some of my best friends there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Laney, Bex, Cincy, right? Where would we be? We wouldn't know any of them if it wasn't for Spoon, right?
Listen,
Pony up in here, right? Dragon Lady.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. Some good times to be had. So, I mean, or that were had. So, does it end at 12 a.m.? Like, if we go over there at 12, is that?
It's supposed to be open tomorrow. It's supposed to be open tomorrow until 12.
Okay.
So there's still like I might do one last stream there or whatever.
Okay.
But then I'll get super sentimental and you'll see me just cry like a little bitch.
Speaking of little bitches, back to Lil Durk.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and play this clip, man, because I want to make sure I get some of the facts right, some of them right, because it's a strange situation because there's an outcry for free Durk, and then there's an outcry to what did you expect with the advent of drill music and all these things. What did you expect?
Okay, here he goes.
Last 48 hours to find and arrest Lil Durk, whose real name is Durk Banks. Prosecutors say Banks even tried fleeing the country after 5 of his alleged co-conspirators were arrested just this week.
The family of Durk Banks seen leaving federal court today in support of the Chicago-born rapper. Banks was arrested in Florida Thursday, facing charges of conspiracy to commit murder for hire and conspiracy to use facilities for murder for hire. The 32-year-old was arrested after 5 members of his Only the Family group, also known as OTF, were indicted by a California grand jury this week on charges of conspiracy to commit murder for hire.
We knew when the others were charged that it was a conspiracy and there were multiple players in it.
Yo, can I interrupt this white man right now?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so as soon as they said that, as soon as like, oh, OTF is been I was like, oh, I know where they're going with this. Conspiracy. Yeah. Everybody, what is conspiracy? I'll tell you what the ultimate conspiracy is, or should I say the ultimate truth? The ultimate truth is that a charge of conspiracy is an unconstitutional bullshit charge that criminalizes hanging out with friends or family. And so the concept is like, well, Mantis is a murderer, so therefore Steve, who hangs out with him, must be somewhat responsible for the murders Mantis carried out.
Well, okay, that's one way to look at it. But in this aspect, conspiracy, quite literally, in the court of law, is a conspiracy amongst a group of people to perpetrate a crime. Now,
but what I'm saying is that I feel personally, for this is my complaint. It can be and is sometimes used to simply oppress people, to throw charges on people, and they'll be like, "Oh, he was gambling the night so and so decided to murder somebody. Let's throw conspiracy charges on him."
Now, I got to be honest with you, big guy. I want to validate your feelings. We live in 2024.
You don't have to validate shit. Say what you're gonna say.
I want to make sure that you feel heard.
I know I'm heard. I know I'm on a live stream right now. People are hearing me. What do you have to say? What is the pushback you have to say on the very true facts I just stated?
The true facts. No, you literally started by saying in my feeling. Here's the thing about conspiracy and racketeering and RICO charges and stuff like that, man. So can it be used to round up a bunch of people on a bunch of bullshit charges? Absolutely. Is that necessarily unconstitutional in the way that it's actually supposed to be applied? No. If you're a part of a group in a criminal organization and you all share in the acts of crime, you should be tried as a group. You should be tried as a group, right? So for instance, let me give you for instance, if I'm in a gang, right? And I'm not talking about some peon in a gang. I'm not talking about some little 13-year-old that's playing lookout. No, that's not what I'm talking about. You shouldn't share the same charges. But if I'm a capo, right? If I'm a head in that gang, and if you order a hit on one of our enemies, and it can be tied back to me that I helped facilitate that hit on one of our enemies, right? And thus by selling drugs in the community, this is how we garner the revenue to commit that crime. I am also culpable of that murder.
Here's what it is. I agree in spirit. I agree.
Right.
The way I feel that it is used, and obviously I'm not in the middle of court every day. I don't know how it's always used. I can't even say mostly used, but sometimes the way it is used is we want to take out his whole crew. We'll just throw conspiracy. We're just toppling on things. And actually, there's a lot of, it's not just conspiracy. There's a lot of charges that I feel do similar things, like hate crime statutes. Conspiracy is another one. There's a bunch of ones where they just dogpile for the purpose of screwing people over. And if I could do away with them, I would.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's an absolutist way to deal with it. So it's like, how would you take down an actual organization that's responsible?
Charge them for the crimes that they are, and if their crimes are that bad, then they'll if they're guilty of it. Like, here's what I'm saying: if four men decide to do attempted murder, or let's say successful murder, that's either 4 charges of murder or 4 charges of attempted murder. We don't need to dogpile more stuff on it, because the fact that those laws can be used unjustly is bad.
Well, any law can be used unjustly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But, I'm just saying the dogpiling. For instance, the hate crime statute. Here's what I'm saying: if I go out and I murder 3 people, the penalty of murdering 3 people should be bad enough. But they're like, well, we have reason to believe Mantis was racist against those white people, so we're going to also make it a hate crime statute. You know what I mean? I'm like, here's what it is: whether I murdered them because I'm a racist or I murdered them for the money in their pocket shouldn't matter. I murdered them, and that's a crime.
I think I'm tracking with you. So you're saying you doing something in an act of racism shouldn't add more time to your charge of murder. You should just be trying.
Murder should be bad enough, and if you're not charging people enough, if you're not punishing people enough for murder in the first place, then there's something wrong with the way they treat murderers.
Interesting. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, sure.
Does this have anything to do with the Trumpster?
No.
No. How do you feel about the crime of treason?
Oh, I think if we're talking about real treason,
Mhm.
behead them or hang. I think maybe they hung them back in the day. I don't think we've ever beheaded illegally in here, but whatever. Yes, death to treason.
Okay, death to treason. If I'm go to a meeting every Wednesday, right, and the group is sole focal point is for me, for us to somehow topple the government, but I am the person that shot the bullet. What level of culpability does the group share in having that meeting? Because they're still committing acts of treason, right? They're still plotting treason on the government, but only one of us committed the act. Should everyone be charged?
So here's what I'm saying. No, they should. So I would say anyone we can prove was a part of the plot is a charge.
Right.
The guy who pulled the trigger, whether you killed them or you're not, that's a charge. But we don't have to tack on conspiracy. It doesn't make it worse that you were talking about it. You've all committed crimes as it is.
Right. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
No, but I get you. Like I said, I want you to feel heard. Right? I want you to feel heard, man.
Why? You just love the conspiracy thing? You just love getting people on a conspiracy?
Well, it's like getting people on conspiracy is one thing. It's like we got to pick a lane to stand in when it comes to the rule of law and the court of law, right? And you and I have both espoused opinions up here that have infuriated people about us having a judicial system and letting that play out, right? So I just try to remain consistent in that, right? If a group of people is charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and then it can be proven that each person had a hand in that murder or actions that led up to that murder, then I think they should all be charged with murder, and it just doesn't fall on the hands of the
I'm fine with that as long as they don't tack on the conspiracy, because the conspiracy is used to tack on to get people who may or may not have actually conspired.
Wait,
you see what I'm saying?
But if we're looking at the group, okay, so then how are you examining that, right? So again,
I'll give you an example. Let's say theoretically, oh God, we're going to get canceled for everything we say tonight in this episode. Me and you are part of a hate group,
okay,
and we regularly go to our meetings or whatever. Right. And so a couple of guys in the meetings that we regularly attend, we high five. There are pictures of us buddy with them. The attendance sheet has our name on it every week. Right. And three guys that we know from that area, or the leaders of it, decide to go murder somebody in the name of whatever crazy cause we're a part of it. It is theoretically possible for the government to then charge us people not participating in it with conspiracy.
Okay. And this
here's what I'm saying. Obviously you're like saying, but we didn't. Yeah, no, I feel what you're saying. I'm saying it's used to railroad, in my opinion.
No. What I was actually going to say is I want to make sure I have the scenario, the hypothetical down correctly before I respond. So you and I are a part of a hate group, and we're in a network of hate groups, right? And we're all meeting regularly saying hateful things. And then
yes.
Okay, so we got that part.
Yes.
And in this hypothetical scenario, does our language shift from talking into action and plotting?
Or in the example that I was trying to give, we don't actually conspire. We don't actually any conspiring.
We don't conspire, but I'm asking about the group itself. Is the group a group that just meets and talks?
We just meet and talk about how much we hate whatever group we don't like.
Okay, so and then you're saying then one individual goes out and does something hateful.
Or
but
let's say a couple, right? Three are guilty. There's 7 in the group, right? 3 are guilty. There are times that they could be like, well, let's put conspiracy on all 7 of these fuckers.
All right,
because we hate people. Because we hate people in hate groups.
All right. So and then in our group, let's say for instance on one of the Wednesday meetings, hypothetically, were we talking about how the best way to topple the government is to do this, and this? Would that be a part of this scenario?
The charge I'm looking for is murder. Wait, are you trying to link this back to Trump? This isn't about. Here's what it is. I've had these feelings before the Trump shit. Are you trying to say like the Proud Boys or something were caught in conspiracy?
I'm trying to get clarity on the hypothetical before I give you a response, man. I'm doing the.
You know what? To answer you, we don't talk about overthrowing the government. We may make mean comments about it, but we don't actually plan it. We don't actually plan it.
There's no plans, right? So we're just a group, men hating things together, right?
Right.
And a couple of our members they start a splinter group where they actually put some things into play.
Yeah, they're like, let's go murder this guy who's into things, or the things we hate.
So yeah, I don't think conspiracy is applicable there. They could try to drop that charge on you, but it's not applicable there. Let me give you the working example of why conspiracy is applicable in this scenario. And let's say, for instance, grannies running around in the Capitol building or people burning down buildings in the name of a murdered man. If your plan involves mass communication, organization, and then moving out of said room and then putting into play a plan, then you've already lived to the definition of conspiracy. You're conspiring to do something as a group, and you should all share in those charges.
So wait, hold on. The thing they're planning to do is criminal?
Yeah, if it results in criminal charges, then yeah. Especially if you're using, say, for instance, an app like Parler to read your message through, or in the instance of BLM or whoever, what is the name of the group, Antifa, if you're using a bike carrier app to organize where you're going to meet, well, why the hell are you doing this?
So once again, I would make the argument we can just charge them with all the regular things. We do not need a conspiracy loophole right there. The world will still function without a conspiracy charges. Here's what I'm saying. If 7 people are like, let's break into that building and kill that old woman, all 7 of them should be charged with murder, and I'll sleep good at night if that happens.
Oh, so you don't like the fact that there's an ad charge because they made a plan?
Yes.
Well, how do you feel about murder 1?
I mean, I'm fine with it.
Here's
what I'm saying. Yeah, here's what I'm saying. You know what? Actually, the bigger issue I have is the murders and attempted murder. Okay. Because you know why? What's stupid about that?
What's going on?
You get more time in prison if you were successful, but if you were unsuccessful, you get less time. And I'm thinking, he was still gonna kill the bitch.
Okay.
So his thought process was still evil.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I hear you, buddy.
If someone's incompetent and they're unable to pull off a murder, they somehow get less time than someone who's really competent and can pull off the murder.
Right. So
That's
okay,
weird.
I see. I hear where you're coming from, man. I hear where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So don't bring into the courtroom that we all came up with a plan, made dynamite sticks with each other, right? Wink, wink. Just I get where you're coming from. Well, with that on the table, let's see what little Durk is facing. We'll come back.
Let's see what this white man has to say. Hello, Rogue Radio.
The fact that he's now being charged in such close proximity to those other charges suggests, of course, that this is related to them and that the conspiracy is even wider than originally presented.
Court documents allege that Banks paid for and planned out the attempted murder of rival rapper Quando Rondo in Los Angeles in retaliation for the murder of OTF rapper Davon Bennett, also known as King Von. Prosecutors say hitmen hired by Banks opened fire on Rondo in August of 2022 while he and a cousin were near their vehicle at a gas station in LA. Rondo survived, but his cousin was killed. Now, as prosecutors move forward with the case, members of the OTF group will likely be used to try and turn a conviction.
They will almost certainly be looking to flip someone who's in on the conspiracy and use their testimony against other defendants. Maybe there's a wiretap here. There may be undercover recordings. All those pieces will come together to make the case against the defendants.
Prosecutors also accused Banks of trying to flee the country this week after his alleged co-conspirators were arrested. They say Banks booked multiple international flights, which he never boarded. Then, Banks allegedly had plans to board a private jet Thursday, departing from Miami to Italy before he was arrested. This arrest also comes after Banks was recently given the keys to the village of Bellwood and Broadview. Today, the mayor of Broadview responding with a statement saying, in part, the village of Broadview is withdrawing our honorary key to the village granted to Durk and is terminating our partnership agreement with his youth organization. As mayor, protecting Broadview's interests and upholding the values of residents is job number one. Lil Durk's team has not responded to our request for comment. We also learned today that Lil Durk donated $150,000 to Mayor Brandon Johnson's campaign in the past.
We'll hear the mayor's reaction to today's news ahead on our news at 5. Liz?
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC 7 Chicago
Regardless of how
Eyewitness
often you bring
News.
up dictionary terms or whatever, yes, we understand that there is something called a conspiracy. My argument is that it's not a crime.
But when it is acted upon,
I'm saying that it's not actually it's not a crime of nature. It's an abstract idea made by an oppressive government trying to dick people over. Boom. You know what I find fascinating about you? This is the most fascinating freaking thing in the world. For some sort of revolutionary black man who's like, we need to overthrow the power structure, you often give into the man's game.
No, again, you wildly misrepresented what I believe and what I stand for, man. Because here's the thing, I do work in a linear when it comes to this, right? I work in a linear what's good for the community and what's bad for the community. So let's say I was a revolutionary, as you just described me as. Do you think that I would stand in the way of people who've done copious amounts of harm to the community from facing the consequences they've made for themselves?
Oh no, okay, I hear what you're saying. So it's like a Punisher thing.
No, it's not a Punisher thing.
It is a Punisher thing. You want to get revenge, or you want revenge on them for they need to be smited, and so stacking extra charges on them is.
But there's no extra charges. This is when you've dealt with the legal system or you haven't dealt with the legal system, right? Like, and I'm not talking about you in general. Like, here's the thing, right? This group conspired literally together. What you're describing is an abstract. You're describing a situation where people just happen to be in the proximity of other people who are going to commit a crime. But when you actually have a group who has conspired in a network, in a system to commit.
Here's what I'm saying. You keep trying to prove that you're like, they did conspire. It fits the definition of conspire. I understand that it fits the English language definition of conspire. My argument is that I do not believe that conspiracy should be a crime.
But here's the difference. You're saying it shouldn't be a crime, but you're using a scenario that does not relate to this, right? So everyone that's involved in an illegal racketeering system should be punished because they've all contributed to that system. And in one way, shape, or form, action A resulted in D. And that's how organized crime works, right? So
right. So in example, but what I'm saying is they should be all charged equally for the initial crime. So an example is, I have a shotgun in my hand and you want to murder someone and you say, Roy, hand me the gun, and I hand you the gun and you shoot some teenager dead. We should both go down for murder.
Exactly.
That's my argument. It's not a conspiracy to hand you a shotgun. I've contributed in a murder, and so therefore that's the crime.
But what you keep missing out on is the scenario itself, right? This group, OTF, for you to get a gun in a gang, that gun has to be procured through money. I know people seem to think that gangbangers just fucking Mario Brother guns out of the top of their hats, right? But for you to do that, do you know what you have to have? You have to have hard capital.
Right. Capital, you need to know people and all these things. And actually...
Can I finish my point here? So for me and you to take out an op, we have to secure a gun. For us to secure that gun, we have to secure funds. That means we got to get the re-up or start the initial up. So that means I got to go to person B to get that, right? If I get the work from person B and I put it in the hands of person C, and our goal is to get the money so we can get the gun to get the ops, in that system, each one of us has contributed to a murder. Now, here's why I think you're confused about something. Are you under the impression that gangs don't understand that they're working in conjunction to get someone killed?
So don't presume to know shit about me and what I know about gangs, period. No, straight up, right? I'm not talking about general gangs, but if you want to talk about gangs, let's talk about gangs.
No.
In your scenario, hold on. In your scenario,
before you respond to what I say,
Obviously, they are conspiring to have people killed. Obviously, it's a great conspiracy. But the mere fact that people are conspiring, my argument is that people have the right to associate with other people, and they have the right to speak with other people.
But Mantis,
so if they commit a crime,
it's saying to you,
you had your turn to speak, and it is now my turn to speak.
But wait, I've been saying to you that those are two different scenarios. Two different scenarios. You being in proximity of a crime does not mean you are a part of it. But when you are a part of the system, those are two different scenarios, my brother. And I've said
what you are arguing right now. Here's the problem with the argument here. Why you won't let it die? You believe that the system, the way it works, is fine for you, and I don't believe that. And those are just the two things we're just not going to agree on. So any amount of arguing that we do right now is not going to come to any conclusion. No. I just don't believe in this system. And you do, and you're not going to convince me, and I'm not going to convince you.
No, but we're arguing two different points, and that's the part I can't get you to acknowledge, even though I keep repeating your words back to you. And then the point, I've actually given credence to your argument. So let me say it plainly. Conspiracy is not you being in proximity without contributing to the crime. The scenario
used that way, though. And so an example I have for you is, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that if someone sells someone a gun, they are conspiring, even maybe they don't know, what the gun is being used for? They should charges for conspiracy should go to them. Should that person then use the gun?
If I sell
in a murderous or illegal way?
So wait, is the gun going to be used in murder?
Well, I'm saying the person who sold it doesn't know. I'm talking about a legal gun salesman. Just a guy who owns a gun shop. You walk in and you have money and you pass a background check. If I sell you that gun, am I part of a conspiracy to have someone killed?
But that's a different scenario. So let me answer your question by saying this. If you sell me a legal gun in Walmart, should Walmart be charged for me committing a murder? No, obviously not.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Here's not what you're not dealing with. If I sell you a gun on 125th Street illegally, and you use that gun in a murder, does that mean I should be able to argue? Well, I did sell him the gun illegally. I had no idea him buying it illegally was going to lead to illegal actions.
So here's what I've been arguing since the beginning: charge the guy who sold the gun with murder as well.
That's what I've been saying.
Leave the word conspiracy out of it.
That's what I've been saying. But it is a conspiracy, brother. It is a
conspiracy, but it shouldn't be a crime. It should not be a crime on the books to conspire. Yo, chat. Talk to this man. This man is lost.
No, this goes to your worldview, which I will allow you to have. The people aren't culpable for actions that could lead to other actions, and I get that about you. I know I can't change that about you, but here's the thing, man. In the vast world of the criminal organizations, right? If I sell you a gun, Mantis, I should be charged as your co-conspirator, because I knew you were going to use this gun for illegal means. If I sell it to you illegally, I'm not confused. That's the way the game works, son. That's the way the game works.
Here's what I'm saying. I will acquiesce that used for the lack of other words existing. You are a co-conspirator to my murder. What I'm saying is you shouldn't be charged with the thing, because like I've already said it. I've already said it a lot. I feel that the definition of that crime can be misused, can be missing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Any legal charge can be misused for sure.
Jaywalking could be misused, absolutely. But I do not feel comfortable with a conspiracy charge.
And hopefully you don't have a public defender that can't argue against the charge.
I hope you are not hanging out with the wrong people one night and later on get charged with conspiracy.
But look, under your working definition, me just being on the bus with you guys doesn't mean that I was going to help you beat the guy to death. You know what I'm saying? I'm just sitting there.
But I'm saying the overzealous district attorney may throw conspiracy charges on you for just chilling.
No, don't worry.
You're hanging out with your people.
No, don't worry, because I don't hang out.
I'm looking out for you right now. I'm looking out for you.
Bro, I don't hang out with those people. Let me make it clear from Steve's perspective, in case any of you are, if you are thinking about committing a crime, I have a sixth sense where it's like, oh, this motherfucker's about to crash out. Watch me get off the bus before you do it and not return any of your phone calls when you get caught for it. Yeah, those days are done. I'm not gonna,
at the risk of repeating myself for the 15th time, my argument is that some mean district attorney is going to charge you whether you knew something was going to go down or not. Because they just don't like you, or they don't like the look of it, or they're trying to make a name for themselves, or whatever it is.
Bro, you don't lack the ability to articulate. I understand what you're saying. I want to make sure you understand that.
No, I obviously, if you knew a crime was going down, you're going to get off the bus early. My argument is it might go down. You might have nothing to do with it. And they'll be like, he's a co-conspirator. Get him.
Yeah. You know what's funny, man? You brought up the term revolutionary. And here's the funny thing about people who proclaim to be revolutionaries, especially on the internet. Get ready. Shots are about to be fired, Mantis. So I want to make sure that the shots I fire are only from Steve's perspective, right?
Okay.
Because I don't want you to catch any smoke. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you. My biggest fear is that someone might think you're conspiring with me when I crash out. The funny thing about people who assume that they're revolutionaries, right, is one, they can't spell the word. That's usually the thing, right? I think that should be like entry level for you to be considered a revolutionary. Two, often people who consider themselves revolutionaries, they don't want what comes next after the revolution, right? You're from Haiti. Your family hails from Haiti, right?
Right.
Did you know statistically, most places that have had a revolution have gone through, America being somewhat of an outlier in this instance, have gone through some of the worst economical situations after said revolution? Because what happens when a ragtag group of people take over a country that
they overthrow their government? The stable, somewhat stable government that they had.
You find that these people get into positions of power, and unless they were used to the infrastructure and the industrial running of the country, what happens then? It falls apart. Here's what separates me from people who claim to be a revolutionary and being raised in a revolutionary tradition, right? I would rather be educated on how the country runs and how it should be run after we take it over, as opposed to a bunch of uneducated motherfuckers sitting around with dashikis on, pretending like they're doing anything at all. That's the shot. That's the shot fired there, right? A revolutionary tradition is understanding that the system has to be replaced, and there's some systems that have to be kept quid per quo. So if you and I cause a revolutionary in America, right? Does that mean that once we're done dismantling the legal system, we're not going to replace it with a legal system?
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, eventually one has to come about. You can only go so long without a legal system, right?
But eventually, you said use the word eventually. You should have a plan in play to have it that day, right?
I would agree, but like most revolutions, they're not thinking forward. It's all about rage, right? Yeah. It's usually rage, flipping out, stuff like that. Yeah. So they don't know what they're doing, right?
So that's why the Panthers were an outlier in this regard. Panthers, Nation of Islam, a lot of groups that considered themselves Pan-Africanist revolutionaries, they actually work within a system to understand what they're going to replace these things for. The people Bex are referring to, these are the type of niggas that hang out at chicken shops and are unemployed and talk on the internet and have no idea what they're going to do with the country once it's in their hands. Right. And I always tell black people, avoid these people. Very give them a walk.
The guy hanging out in front of Kennedy Fried Chicken telling you about how shit works. Beck says you lost me, Mantis, when you called Steve a revolutionary, because he damn sure ain't. And so I don't really believe he's a revolutionary. I said that to put him off kilter while we were debating.
Which is
if you guys didn't notice that I play dirty and strike low.
Which is almost like impossible to do, man. I would also say this in regards to the little Durk thing. This is a mirror that's being held up right now, right? Because it's a conversation that a lot of people don't have, but I'll keep it singular to the black community, and I'll use a microphone that's in the black community right now as far as popular media. So this topic came up the other day on the Joe Budden podcast, right? Obviously, we can't play clips from the Joe Budden podcast because he will strike you unless it's a certain amount of audio at which he allows for like fair use and all that stuff. So you had Queen's Flip, you had Melissa Ford, Joe Budden, and I believe it was Ish, and Parks is the white guy that's usually off camera. And they were talking about the Lil Durk situation. And this is how far we've fallen as a society in regards to this conversation. Oh, yes. And they also, I forget this dude's son's name. What are the members' name of the Locks? Jadakiss. I want to say it was Jadakiss's son was on there too.
Okay.
Every one of those people made an excuse for Lil Durk. None of them spoke on behalf of the victim. I just want to hear your thoughts on that for a second, right? Now we're not talking about a bunch of street dudes. Let me say the names again.
Right.
Melissa Ford, defunct video hoe.
Right.
Jadakiss's son, arguably a child raised in privilege, right? Parks, I don't know his economical standing, but white guy on a predominantly black podcast. Queens Flip, street claims to be a street dude. And then Ish, who is actually just a hardworking man that helped out a friend and wound up being on the podcast. And Joe Budden called them all out because they were making excuses for Little Durk. Like, you got to understand the societal pressures that led him here.
Oh, well, that's the worst argument. That's the worst argument. And I'm going to tell you right now that I am on Little Durk's side because I'm corrupt and I'm a sinner. Okay. And my argument isn't good. And so what it is he was engaging. Once I heard that he was engaging in a revenge murder, and I was like, oh, well, those motherfuckers asked for it. But obviously that is not a healthy or productive attitude to have. But I think that's where people are coming from, where they're like, well, he was avenging his boy. It's the way of the streets. And that's where my heart is right now. But I know that's misleading me right now.
Wait, let me ask a follow-up question. How much do you know about King Von?
I don't know much about him, but
okay.
But I mean, saying the fact that he was avenging him, makes it seem almost sympathetic.
Would it help you at all, or would it cease your sympathy if I told you that King Von was responsible for laying down many of people's homies? And I'm not talking about grown men. I'm talking about on the south side of Chicago, was a part of helping to kill other children who were in the gang.
I mean, that is effed up. No, I'm and you're saying these people knew like what he was about. Here's what it is. At the end of the day, if we're talking about like who's right or wrong, he is guilty. He is clear. It seems like he's guilty. The moment I heard conspiracy, I was like, oh, they're railroading him. However, as they kept talking, I was like, okay, it does kind of seem like he did something. I figured he was just smoking the blunts with the wrong dudes, and he got caught, right? Which is how they use conspiracy. Right. But then he's avenging his boy, and let's face it. We make excuses for our loved ones. If someone's your boy, you don't see them as a killer or a monster, right? You just see them as like, my friend was killed, I'm going to avenge them, right? And so it does. It seems almost like justified. It's never justified. Revenge killings are not cool, not good. And so my Christian mind is telling me this is bad. He needs to be punished. It's good that he's taken off the streets. My instinctive attitude, my corrupt heart was like, oh, revenge killing, good. Fuck those motherfuckers.
Right. I got you. The interesting thing about the whole conspiracy and like this whole racketeering thing, I would think you would have more of an issue with the word racketeering. That's where I thought.
I hate that one too. Someone explain it to me. Nobody knows what it is.
What if we look at this let's look at it from a street level, because this is where I might fuck some people's heads up, man. You know that term people use, fuck around and find out? That comes from somewhere, right? The term, if he fucked around and you found out, right? So where I was exposed to the streets and in my limited interactions in the streets, everyone was honest from my neighborhood. I know it's going to blow your mind, but Harlem is one of the most honest places on earth, right? Where it's like someone will get gunned down, and if it's a civilian, this is a horrible thing. But they will all admit to we helped breed this environment where a civilian got gunned down. But let it be a nigga who was in the game, right? We'll celebrate you, but at your same funeral, everyone's gonna say, "I knew this shit was coming." You know what I'm saying? Like, right. They might slide for you, but they're gonna say they knew this shit was coming. I think in street rules, in regards to this whole Lil Durk thing, I think people are being wildly inconsistent in regard to this. And I think that civilian blacks have allowed themselves to be pulled into a conversation. This is where rap music has really fucked us up. The fact that you would even make an argument, not you, but the fact that anyone would make an argument for, well, Durk was just sliding for his boys. Well, if those motherfuckers didn't kill King Von, somebody was going to, because King Von has put down a lot of people's homies. So I say, in this regard, let's look at it as civilians. You and I are two older men, you know? Forget being Christians. Why aren't we celebrating getting a murderer off the streets? Why aren't people pouring onto the airwaves saying, man, this guy was bad business and he's helped a lot of people get put in the ground?
Right.
That's some revolutionary shit for you right there.
Like, no, that is revolutionary. And so I think about it like, I'm going to use us as an example since I've already used us as an example in a hate crime, a hate group or whatever.
I just want to make sure for the legal reasons, I've never been to a meeting with Mantis.
I don't go to meetings. I don't even go to church meetings. It annoys the fuck out of these people. But every committee, I'm like, I don't go to meetings. Email me. I'll tell you what happened.
Send me the minutes.
Yeah, send me the minutes, man. Basically, God forbid something were happen to you. I think you know what I'm going to say, right? And so, basically, I'm gonna get revenge, right?
Well, here's the good thing, because you would know at this point in my life that if something happened to me, it would certainly be unjust, right? I would probably, there's a better chance of me getting shot by someone while I'm getting milk or catching a stray bullet, right, than it be because I killed someone or
you were engaging in some sort of crime, like you were selling coke to the kids or something.
But allow me to say this. I appreciate the sentiment. I would also, if something unjustly happened to you, no, I would, I put in that work for you, and I think you know that about me.
I do know.
I'm not admitting to anything. But when it comes to this shit, though, I do think I got to give Joe Budden his props, because when they did the podcast about the Lil Durk thing to wrap this whole thing up, the fact that Melissa Ford and all these people tried to make excuses for Durk was absolutely amazing to me, right? It's absolutely amazing to me, because at the end of the day, Durk, Vaughn, all these people, yes, they were born in a disadvantaged area, man. But at a certain point, each one of these folks picked up and decided to be a part of that system, right? I want to give a shout out to the kid who got beat up every day on the south side of Chicago and then moved the fuck out.
Right.
I want to give
absolutely. Right, because especially since these guys have made it.
Right.
Like Lil Durk had many options before he had to choose violence. Right? Right. And so he had to actively choose to remain in that as a man of means, right?
Right. Would it surprise you that he won an NCAA award? Would that surprise you?
And so that's the problem with our culture right now, is that because of wokeness and politically correctness and DEI stuff, that basically these types of legal arguments fall on their head, right? And so, for instance, I would say, like, you probably think my conspiracy thing is that I'm crazy of that, right? I believe that I'm consistent in my theories of how law and order should work, right? But in terms of these other guys, they knowing, like these lawyers and stuff, they know they're making bullshit ass arguments, but they are doing it anyway. It's not a different way of thinking. They are literally being like, he was poor and underprivileged. What was he to do but to order a group of assassins?
I know exactly how you mean it, and you mean it the way in which Hoover wanted to take down the Black civil rights movement, right? Or should I just say the only civil rights movement, when they criminalize something good. I stand starchly against that. There is a fine definitional line between what is good and what is bad. The unfortunate thing is so many horrible things happened during that period of time where now we have to look at it in retrospect. But we all knew there was nothing criminal about the civil rights movement, right? We all knew that inherently there was nothing criminal, or we'll see what Mantis says here, about the Black Panthers taking up arms against the police. There's nothing evil about that. I agree with Malcolm X. Someone threatens to lynch you, you most certainly should arm yourself and be prepared to put that cop down if he tries to act out on that.
Yes, absolutely. And so, like, I'll obviously in this case, I'll take it case by case basis. But in general, no, I would say most of the time there was not. Obviously, I don't know every armed incident between police and Black Panthers, but in general, I would say no.
No, man. I would say that we can believe vastly that Black Panthers did nothing wrong.
The way you said that is just so shitty. But like I said, I'm not gonna give anyone any blanket statements. I'm gonna say case by case basis. Right?
Case by case on conspiracy. I got you. So what else we got? I saw you put Anthony Bryant Logan's ass in the chat there, man. What's going on with this fine order as per usual?
So this is more Trump stuff, and what it is all my stories were politically based because we just did a Halloween episode, right? And so we put that up on Riz Radio, and now I assume we're going to start talk mostly politics. Okay. And then in the start of the episode, you're like, I don't even watch anything about politics. I want to avoid it. I'm like, oh great. But this is about Mayor Adams, and so do you know what Mayor Adams of New York City's been going through lately?
Yeah, I think it's pretty ironic because that word's going to come up again.
It is, isn't it? This is the theme tonight, right? Yeah, this is the theme. And guess whose side I am in the argument? Take a wild guess as to who I'm backing on this one. So basically, Mayor Adams did nothing wrong. He's just a black man doing business. Okay, he's just doing. He's trying to run a city, and the white man doesn't want a black man running the city.
Okay, I'm with you. Do we have any? What are the charges, and were there any friends involved? How did Mayor Adams get pulled into this whole thing?
Oh yeah, all of his friends are in charge. Because so basically what has happened is that one of the problems that they really want him to step down right now,
right,
is that anyone remotely even who thinks they might get indicted, and that's a lot of people, are quitting their positions in City Hall and leaving. And so his government is like he has a skeleton crew of government running New York City.
It seems like individuals are separating themselves,
right, from him,
from a group,
because they don't want to be any trumped up charges like conspiracy. Right?
But there was a group that conspired to do something, I believe.
Yes, that does happen. Although it shouldn't be a crime, because what really is conspiracy if you think about it. So let's see what's going on here. But before we actually watch it, I'm going to share the screen. But before we actually watch it,
I'm sorry.
Do you have any thoughts on Mayor Adams?
Personally, politically? Mayor Eric Adams, since he ran for the mayor of New York, man, it's been interesting to watch his journey, right? This isn't the first controversy he's faced. Actually, early on in his campaign, or towards the end, he was going against your boy in the Yang Gang and a few other people. But there was a whole controversy about where he resides. What is his legal address? Is he eligible to run as mayor in New York? And apparently, if I remember correctly, he had an apartment in Brooklyn, but he resided in Jersey with his family. And
what's funny? That's such a cop thing to do. And because his origin is that he used to be a cop.
Yeah. Actually, his origin story is he used to run with the Supreme Team, which is a group of people that conspired to do crimes back in the day. Now, I don't know at what level he was involved or if he was just infatuated with it, but I know that another knock that people have against him, especially certain social commentators, is that because he's been so pro-crop in New York for so many years, and he's had, I won't say a flip-floppy approach to stop and frisk, or you know what I'm saying, and a few other, cop ideologies. He's coming up with some controversies. My personal feelings about the man is, I have the same feeling about him as I have as Kamala. He does a horrible job at representing what the hell it is he's trying to do and say.
And right? I'll tell you why that is. Here's basically what this is. And I've seen it. And once again, I'm sorry. I'm probably very critical of white people right now tonight. But what it is the white ally didn't realize that he's clearly a Republican, but because he's black, he ran as a Democrat. And that's why he doesn't say what he believes, because he is a cop who wants to increase the amount of cops that are around. He wants to take money from schools and give it to cops. This is not what liberal New York is about. But however, these fools voted for him because he's the right color at the right time.
Also, in case I'm just going to, blow everyone's mind. I don't know if I'm really going to blow your mind. Black people, whether they be of the African-American experience, Caribbean, or from the continent of Africa, are normally socially conservative.
Absolutely. And I mean, I could go on and on about the conspiracies, but if you notice, here's what it is. On television and movies, if you notice, there seems like in every piece, there is a certain drive to depict black people engaging in a certain behavior that is biblically not liked, right? And the reason is that they're trying to sell this, because in truth, black people do not like that. If I'm making it.
I get what you're laying down here, man. Black people tend to be, especially in America, especially if you hail from the South and the Great Migration up to northern and Midwestern territories, et cetera, et cetera. We have very, very conservative views. I would say even just traditional views in regards to things. And in regards to Eric Adams being a cop, listen, I am not a cop apologist, man. I think that corruption should be rooted out no matter how low it is in an institution or how high it is, man. If you're a corrupt cop, you need to be put out. Does that mean that the vast majority of cops are corrupt? No. Do cops help to enforce or militarize a corrupt system? Well, yes, and you would agree with that because you don't believe in conspiracy. So, good to know that you hold some of the same revolutionary views that some of my forebears hold.
I believe in conspiracies. I just don't believe they should be illegal. But that's neither here nor there. It's funny. I was speaking to a lawyer. I needed a lawyer for something at one point in my life, more than once. But at this one time, he was like, "They're going to have the cop take the stand," and I was like, "In your experience, cops liars? What do you say? What are your thoughts on this?" And then he was just like, "Cops are like any normal people." He's like, I've seen cops who, to a fault, tell the truth, and they tell the truth even if it's going to get themselves in trouble. And then there are others who will just lie, and he's just and they're like any other human. And so that's how I feel about cops. I think it's weird when people. It's so funny. Like when a cop does something evil, right?
Right.
People are like, let's defund police. Cops are bad. Yada yada yada. So flipping that, let's look at any other profession. So when your car mechanic messes up or tries to scam you out of money, nobody says all car mechanics are evil. Let's get rid of them, right?
I say all car mechanics are crooks.
They'll take your money when they can. It's like what I'm saying is, most people will not say all of them are corrupt, and so this goes with any other job, right? And so, you would never blatantly blanket over all of one career, but for some reason they do it with cops. It's weird.
So the point I was going to make about Adams is I believe that something that a lot of people don't take into consideration, him being a police officer in the heyday of New York, is the level of brutality and violence that he's seen within his own community.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying, and having to uphold the law, protect people in spite of them maybe not trusting you. It's a difficult position to be in. I will never criticize Eric Adams for being someone, if it be true about his character, that tried to improve the quality of life in the inner city. And if that came with punishing people who were breaking the law, then that's what it is. If he was predatory in his practices, then fuck him, just like anything else, you know what I'm saying? Right. But I do think that like liberals, like this is one extremely intelligent sister, man, Caribbean sister, and she has a podcast. I always forget the name, and I think I sent it to you one day, and you were like, "Don't send me this stuff anymore." And she was on the Breakfast Club with Eric Adams, and I guess publicly and socially, everyone agreed that she really held him to the fire and, you know, debunked a lot of things he was saying. But then I went to go watch her podcast more closely, and she talks about this utopic area she lives in Brooklyn, where she always feels safe, and she's always amongst family, and she's always walking around. And I'm like, all right, I'm glad you've had that experience.
The one neighborhood that's like, it's a secret neighborhood. No one's ever heard of it.
I'm glad you've had that experience. But let's let Anthony Bryant Logan talk, man.
Real quick, Pokey says, no more buddy cop films. That's why everyone hates cops. No more Police Academy. No more The Naked Gun. I agree with him. Yeah. Do you remember when cops had silly comedy movies? And they made them friendly. They made cops friendly.
Danny Glover has done more for the look of the police than any other black man in America. Does that mean we're going to just own Danny Glover? Also, he was in that fucking movie, The Color Purple, which has done more harm to black men than any movie in America.
Oh, that movie. Yeah. By the way, real quick, did you know this? They made a remake of it, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna go see it, and then on the before I had a chance to say it, someone pointed out it was a musical, and I was like, "It's a musical?" And they're like, "Yeah." And no, here's the thing: I'm not no bigot. I don't hate musicals on their front, but that movie I remember was sad and depressing and messed up. Why would you make a musical of it?
My brother, most musicals are sad and depressing. They're always based off of some Les Miserables.
That's messed up. But I feel most aren't they cheery and they're happy? Like even Rent, they're all dying of AIDS, but they're all having a good time. They're dancing, they're jumping around, they're playing music. They're like, yeah, we're dying and we don't have to pay rent.
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. Here's the thing about musicals and The Color Purple and all that stuff, man. When are we all going to come to agreement that the real thing that's decaying our society isn't police officers? And it's partially gangs, right? They're a part of the problem. I'm going to blow your mind, Mantis. You know what's really fucking up society? Like the decay of the moral standing of America. Are you prepared for it?
Bitches.
They're holding it up, right? They're holding up the society right now. God bless those whores. It's the spiritualist, man. The spiritualist. The liberal notion that you hate the most, it starts in the room with a cup of tea and incense burning.
Yes. these witches. They see all sorts of things. They share also. They're burning candles and shit. They're talking to dead ancestors. I do agree because that is where it starts because you feel it's harmless. That's when people are like, "Oh, it's from another culture." It's not. This isn't satanic. I'm just gonna summon a demon right now.
Play this man, please. Play this man.
These real problems we're having, and with all that's going on to everyday New Yorkers, we're asking questions that is someone a fascist or is someone a Hitler. That's insulting to me. That is insulting.
Word. I agree with that.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about New York City Mayor Eric Adams defending President Donald Trump against allegations of Trump and his followers like you and I being fascist, racist, all the other obits, obes in this. The main one that Eric Adams responded to was this whole thing about fascism. Now, I think this term is being astroturfed right now. And what I mean by that is the mainstream media and the politicos, they keep talking about it. They keep saying it to hammer it into your mind to make it be a real thing.
I don't think they know what
all
it
this
means.
talk about fascism didn't really happen under his presidency.
No,
Did it happen a little bit? Yes, but not to this level. So if he is a fascist, why is it just now being the serious talking point rather than a few years ago when he was in office? But that's a different story. And for now, I digress. Eric Adams is defending Trump. And really, I kind of saw this coming, not because of the federal thing he has going on, these charges. I'll get to that in a little bit. I saw it coming because he has more conservative values. And the main issue here is that migrant crisis. I think the migrant crisis is the reason why Eric Adams got caught up with the feds. And it may be the reason why he sees himself on the same page with a Trump, perhaps, rather than the left, who are completely ridiculous right now. Now, before I go any further,
real quick, I wanted to break out one of Pokey's statements.
Okay.
He said all that and all the glorification of crime life. And so obviously talking about our last story. And so I absolutely agree with that. And so what's funny, though, I'm going to point something out. Could be crazy. This could be, Uncle Mantis acting like a damn fool, talking nonsense. But the glorification of crime did not start with the Black community, and it did not start in the 80s or 90s or whatever. It literally started in our founding fathers. And our founding fathers, a fair number of them were criminals, and they were considered criminals overseas. And they came here and they were like, they glorified the idea that they're like, we got away with it. F you, F the police kind of concept. And I think Americans in general love to glorify a criminal.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
About America.
Absolutely. Not just America, Great Britain as well, man. And Australia, most of the Western civilization loves everyone roots for the bad guy, as 50 Cent says, and then turns the movie off when the bad guy dies. How many times?
Right, yeah, exactly.
I mean, how many times
I could explain the Durk thing.
How many times have I stopped The Lord of the Rings right when the tower was falling and Sauron's eye disappeared? I was like, this movie fucking sucks.
I don't know if you know this, but in Lord of the Rings, my favorite character is, I don't know what his real name is, but Pinky the Orc.
Oh yeah, Pinky.
I love the pink orc. The pink orc, when he tells his men not to move, he's like, stand your ground and all that stuff. When he gets killed, I'm like,
in the uncut version, he goes the most brutal way. He gets hit with an axe, then he gets his arm cut off, gets hit with an axe again. Like I
remember that he's getting diced up or whatever, and overkill. But in the extended version, everyone gets overkilled. Like Saruman gets totally overkilled. Like he gets thrown off a fucking cliff or thrown off a tower and then impaled. And
the little the windmill, the little water mill thing. The crazy thing about this Eric Adams situation and fascism, and man, I just, did I ever tell you I walk around with a dictionary in my book bag? I keep 3 books with me in my book bag at all times.
It's funny that I never thought about it, but now that you say this, it makes sense.
And whenever someone uses a word, I always take a step back and I ask them, well, what do you mean by fascism? Who's a fascist? What makes them a fascist? And then, we look at the broad, the definition of the word. We'll look up fascist together. And I was like, now, can you explain to me what makes this person a fascist? And usually when I start hearing words like I feel or in my experience, and I'm just like, okay, we're not really talking about fascism. We're talking about what you saw on TikTok and what and how they describe this person. But I do think Anthony Brian Logan made a good point. If Trump was a fascist, if he is a fascist now, why wasn't it an issue before? Now, some people might retort to that saying that people have been critical of Trump's business practices for years, and that would be true. But I don't think I've ever heard the word fascist attributed to him. I've heard, that he's a crook, right? For years.
If anything, you're right. He's more likely to be a crook than a fascist. He probably doesn't have time or energy to be fascist.
Right.
But I would argue that both sides, at any given point, it doesn't have to be Trump and Kamala. It doesn't have to be Biden. Just in general, both sides take their turns of being fascist. Both sides overreact and over authoritative depending on the issue.
100%.
And I'll give you an example. One thing that I gotta say that I gotta just, at the risk of being canceled or hated on, abortion. I'm gonna straight up say it. I'm actually comfortable with the way abortion is right now. And I'll put it up like this. In democracies, you have to compromise. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And so if one side is saying no abortions for anyone, right? And the other side is we should have no restrictions to abortion. I should be able to abort my baby at 9.5 months while it's playing in the backyard or something. Some crazy nonsense like that, right? But however, what Trump's argument is that he said, well, it went back to the states, and that's the best thing. It goes back to the states, so places that are really disgusted with abortion can ban it. But other places like New York, if they're really into it, you can have free reign over abortion. Right. And I think this is the fairest way of doing it. And so I'll give you an example. Democrats are very fascist when it comes to abortion. Not only do they want to say the rules of abortion, but they want to force them on everyone.
Right.
New York liberals want to force Tennessee and Missouri to respond undemocratically to their over-enthusiasticness about abortion.
Right.
That's fascist. That would be fascist. And so I'm saying basically, ultimately, people take different turns. There's different chances for everyone to be fascist. Neither group is necessarily fascist. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. What you're talking about is strong arming the narrative and the conversation and moving and swaying laws into a place where, say, for instance, in a conversational point, you don't get a primary and you force someone into a candidacy without their constituency even giving a chance.
That was all said. I like that because that fuels my narrative. So I like
that. When they conspire to remove an old man from office,
and which wasn't a crime because it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I want you to know you are on the record of saying they committed a crime when they did that.
Did I?
Yeah, but I can't hold you to the weight of it because you were inebriated. But you were like, it's illegal what they did to Biden.
Oh, that was just, I didn't mean it like literally. I meant it the way I say things, but I'm just saying to conspire is not a crime. But anyway, let's see what he has to say.
Let's get into what Eric Adams said. We also have a clip from Trump in which he responds to Eric Adams defending him. So I will link to everything in the box, but without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
And they're talking about these real problems we're having. And with all that's going on to everyday New Yorkers, we're asking questions that is someone a fascist or is someone a Hitler. That's insulting to me. That is insulting. And I'm not going to engage in that. Everyone needs to turn down the rhetoric because after Election Day, we still have to be the United States and not the divided states. And so if people can't understand their real issues facing New Yorkers, and I just find it just humiliating that what everyday mom and pops are doing and going through across this country, that here we are having this conversation about this silly item.
What Eric Adams is saying here is right on point. We're talking about Trump. Is he a fascist? Is he a racist? The personality traits of the individual person, not policy traits, because he didn't do anything during his time that would lead anyone to believe that, in my opinion. But it's really just about personality. Do you hate the orange man? Is orange man a threat? It's like, well, look, we got moms, pops, kids. You got people in this country truly suffering. Shouldn't that be the focus rather than a quirk about someone's personality?
So I refuse to participate in that. I'm going to fight for New Yorkers like I've done for years. And whomever can understand that, they're not in the streets. When I'm at these town halls, talking to people there, they're not asking me these silly questions. We are in this bubble, and I know you guys really believe these stories you're writing. It gives you a lot of clicks. It's exciting and give you headlines. But this is not what New Yorkers and Americans are dealing with, folks. They are scared of their future. Someone needs to stand up and say enough of this. Tone down the rhetoric. Let people hear the facts.
Right.
Let them vote. and let's decide what the next 4 years are going to be for our city. And that's my position. I cannot make it any clearer.
Very well done, Eric Adams. Very well done. Now, some are going to say that you're angling to get pardoned because of the federal charge because you want Trump to win. I mean, that may or may not be the case. I don't know. But that doesn't make what he said any less legitimate. True. Now, let's get to what Trump said.
I didn't even think about it.
And of course, again, everything will be in the box.
Smart, though. He's a smart
There's an affordability crisis.
If he's angling that far ahead, right?
Taxes, held utility companies account.
And you know what? I want to thank Mayor Adams, because Mayor Adams has been treated pretty badly.
Now, the booing is happening because this is from the New York City, the Madison Square Garden event. So you're in New York. You got a lot of New Yorkers who may not like Eric Adams as their mayor. All right. But Trump is giving them some credit here.
You know, when he said that this whole thing with the migrants coming into New York, this is just not sustainable. You know, we can't do it. We're trying to run a city. We got 100,000 migrants coming. We can't do it. We just can't do it. It's not feasible. It's not good. He said it very nicely. I said, well, he's going to be indicted by these lunatics for saying that.
Now, a little bit of context here. A while back, during this administration, during the Biden-Harris administration, Eric Adams said that the migrant crisis was going to destroy New York. It was going to ruin New York. And he's been openly critical about the crisis. Now, one day when he was on an airplane going to D.C. to speak about the migrant crisis at the White House, one of his assistants or somebody gets raided. The home gets raided. And from there, it's been downhill. And now they're hitting him with federal charges. Now, I'm not saying the reason why he is hit with federal charges is because he's been outspoken about the migrant crisis, but I wouldn't put it past our government to engage in lawfare. You see what's happening with Trump. Why wouldn't it be the same thing for an Eric Adams? If they can get the president of the USA caught up in lawfare, why not the mayor of New York City?
A year later, he got indicted. I think they upgraded his seat in an airplane. I hear that's a very serious charge. They've upgraded my seat a lot too. I used to fly commercial. I don't fly it so much anymore. But they'd see me back there and, sure, would you like an upgrade? I don't know. Maybe it's something else. But I have to tell you, he's been really great. And he said that they shouldn't be calling Trump a dictator because it's not true. That's nice. That was nice. Very nice. So we want to thank Mayor Adams. Going through a hard time with these people. These are lunatics, by the way. They've weaponized the Justice Department against their political opponent. I am under investigation more than the great, late Alphonse Capone.
Right on point. So shout out to Trump.
Yeah, it's funny when he says that. It's like he's bragging.
You know, I said that like a few episodes back that he never does himself any favors, like when he's talking, but to compare himself to Al Capone.
Al Capone, and the way he said it, he's actually sounded proud that he's like he has more charges than Al Capone.
Yeah, the late great Al Capone. Hey, speaking of which, do you know how Al Capone got taken down?
Oh, was it an income tax invasion?
Yeah, he actually did more time.
Yo, okay, so you keep going. Tell your thing, but then I'm going to explain like why this loops back to conspiracy.
No, I'm just saying they got him on tax evasion, man. You know,
right? They couldn't get him on good stuff, so they decided to get him on income tax evasion. Yeah. But so check this out.
Which he did commit, by the way.
Which he did commit, but like, this is the point. This is the point, right?
Right.
Point is that these cops, they are, you know, their sole goal is, you know, they make points in life, raises, status, yada, 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 by taking people down. And if they can't get you one way, they will get you another. And they will find creative ways and creative charges to bring people down. And we need to depower them from their creative power. We need to strip them of this because, you know, like I said, they will misuse these charges to take someone down. Now, was Al Capone guilty? He was guilty as hell, both of the income tax stuff and the actual gangster stuff. Right, I am not. I don't want you to hear what I'm not saying, right? I am not saying that all these people who are criminals should get away with something. They're like, gangs should get away with stuff because, or whatever. I am just saying it gives the government, gives the man too much leeway to get creative with charging people. With
you're talking about like a dystopia. I know you fear. You're talking about the dystopian process of the legal system, right? Your fear is that it will shift to true fascism where you can be round up for just having a thought, right?
Having a thought, hanging out with your boys.
It goes to your argument too that you should be allowed to tell a lie about a person and not face any, plagiarism or defamation suits and stuff like that. You're an anarchist, and I've always loved that about you, man. You just don't believe in the rule of law.
No, hold on. You notice that it all continues with one theme, and so it's freedom. This is all First Amendment stuff that I'm all going crazy about, right? And so that's the right to freedom of speech and the right to association. And so I believe strongly in both of them. That I just think most of the time, I think it should be very rare that we can impede either one of those ideas. So you should have the right to hang out with whoever you want. You should be able to talk about and say whatever you want. Around people of like-minded, and the government should not have the power to penalize you or get you in trouble for that.
What about God?
Well, God has the right to punish us for whatever he wants, and so at the end of the day, he might have a conspiracy statute, but I don't believe man should.
What if he sent down laws to a specific group of people that dealt with those things?
He did, and I don't believe conspiring is anywhere in any of those laws.
If I could show it to you in Leviticus.
Yo, I want you to, this is the challenge for next week. Yo, break out the book, look it up throughout this week. If you can find something about conspiring, I will acquiesce. I
got you. Let's. I'm not doing anything over here. Just go ahead and finish what you're doing. Right.
He's doing it right now. He's got his Logos Bible software open. You know what it is? We're gonna switch the energy because we're close to the end. We're gonna do, because it's Halloween. We're only 2 days away from Halloween. And honestly, if you want true Halloween content, you need to go to Riz Radio at rizradio.com or at the Live 365 app, and you need to check it out because we're actually doing Fanboy Modeling School every night this week.
Amen.
And we're doing Halloween. We're doing a Halloween party. But here in this episode, we can't let it end without some Halloweenness. So what we have here is the top 20 worst horror movies.
Yes, I put that in there for you, big guy. I put that in there for you. What the?
Sorry,
you hear that?
Yeah, no, I'm good. It's all good. It's all good. So, but we're gonna check those out. Are you got any plans for Halloween?
Unfortunately, I am working for the man, and I'll be out of work at around 6 o'clock. Come home. I think my kids will be done trunk or treating, and I'll just spend. Maybe I'm gonna see if I can get them to watch a spooky movie.
Okay, so here goes, guys. Let's take a look at what they have to say. This Watch Mojo.
Not the bees! Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 worst horror movies of the century so
Look at
far.
That. What is that? Birdemic?
For this list, we'll be ranking the most critically panned, commercially unsuccessful, or otherwise poor horror movies to be released from the year 2000 until the present day.
So here's the whole thing. When I do a worst list, one of the rules that I always have, and I assume they're going to do it too, is that it can't be a low budget movie. It has to be a movie that they attempted to make good and sucked.
Right.
Because too many low budget movies are already stupid, or they're meant to be stupid, right?
Right.
Sharknado or something is meant to be stupid, and so you can't really judge it on that, right?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
To even the playing field, we will be omitting any made-for-TV or direct-to-DVD outings. Have you seen any of these films? Feel like defending them? Let us know and sound off in the comments. Number 20, Truth or Dare.
Well, they're doing 20.
Truth or Dare, Ronnie.
Oof.
What, Olivia put you up to this?
Truth or Dare.
Many of us remember playing Truth or Dare as children.
We can't
will
watch the
horror
whole one
fans
because it's a
recall
long
the
ass-
2018
let it
film
rock.
of the
Let it
same
rock.
name with a similar fondness? It's highly doubtful, since both critical and fan reactions to Truth or Dare were profoundly negative.
Oh, the girl from
right from the jump.
Don't tell the truth.
I love that actress.
Or you die. Do the dare.
Lucy Hale from
Refuse to play.
that actress is from. She's from Fantasy
Full
Island.
of rules.
She's
The
made
movie was a
Pretty Little
commercial
Liars.
success, of course, as many
So pretty.
Blumhouse-produced horror films usually are. But Truth or Dare also possessed a messy script with too many writing hands in the pot. The end result was a bargain basement spooky mess. The sort of horror flick that arrives on a Friday night, makes its money back, and then quietly disappears back into the darkness.
Sweet little Olivia's not shooting anyone.
Try me. I dare you.
Number 19, Ghost Ship. Will
I
fully
remember
cop
this
to
movie.
admitting that Ghost Ship possesses one banger of an opening set piece.
Yeah, look at this. This
The
is
prologue
ridiculous, man.
massacre of the MS Antonia Graza is gloriously bloody stuff. but
Everyone gets
it's
their head cut off
unfortunately
from a
all
wire.
downhill after that sequence.
Because of the plan, I'm trapped on this dreamboat of yours. So you know what? You're coming along for the ride.
Ghost Ship attempts to
Yes,
mix
Pretty
old
Little
school
Liars. Yo, Bex, are
supernatural
you a fan?
frights with modern CGI-centered horror tropes, but succeeds at neither aim. Instead, the film wastes its striking beginning and treads water right until its final moments. And it's a shame, too, because Ghost Ship could have, and perhaps should have, been so much better. Talk about a...
Crazy.
Yeah, I said Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, I said Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, I know she's from Pretty Little Liars. Are you a fan of Pretty Little Liars? Because I'm a huge fan of the original Pretty Little Liars.
Displeasure Cruise.
No, you always smell that way.
Number 18, The Fog.
The Fog is bad.
John Carpenter is one of the most respected creative voices in the horror world.
Actually, that's a great
As a
show to
result,
rewatch
many of the
around
man's
Halloween.
films have gone on to
Especially because of their
influence and
Halloween
define the genre, making them difficult to remake. This is just one of the reasons why the 2005 iteration of The Fog failed, both as its own film and as a tribute to Carpenter.
Where are we going?
Need to get back to the lighthouse. To your mom. No more getting the hell off this island.
The remake doesn't possess the star power of the original, and Carpenter's signature, all-encompassing style is absent and definitely missed. They call them classics for a reason, after all, and The Fog should have stayed in the 80s.
Used to be in love with her.
Oh, Selma Blair, is that her?
Yeah.
Where it belongs.
Somebody please get me out of here.
Number 17, Queen of the Damned.
It reminds me of someone.
Gotta pause it real quick.
This movie
I
is horrible.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. Horrible adaptation of an amazing book, an amazing series. And so I honestly wish they could have kept Tom Cruise in the role. I don't know why they would skip Vampire Lestat. It's my favorite of the books.
Right.
Although I don't know if you've looked into it or you kept up with it, but like I think the last book that I knew existed, I didn't even read. It was Nemnock the Devil. They go on and on. Anne Rice just keeps publishing books about Lestat. And you know, there's a ton of books after that.
And yeah, that was right before or in between when she returned back to Catholicism, and things got really weird. Actually, you know what's crazy, man? Anne Rice has a deep understanding of Near Eastern religions, man. I'm surprised by the reference points, and even a book like Memnock the Devil or Interview with a Vampire. Like, she's got some theological chops to her. She's wrong, but she's got some theological chops to her.
Well, she came back to Christ, and that's all that matters.
What?
Oh, he's going to say something about Catholics right now.
All he's going to remind you of soon is a pile of bones. We're going to dismember him, bleed him dry.
Yeah.
We talked about this the night.
Right.
Adaptations of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles series.
I can't wait to see it on the show because I think the show
various
is killing
degrees
it right
of success.
now. Right?
Hey, pause it real
OG
quick.
Interview with the Vampire from 1990.
This is a question for the chat, specifically Bex and Mantis, and I just got to know. Just got to know where your hearts are on this situation. You guys love the series, right?
Right.
Are you guys going to be upset when they don't cast Akasha as a black woman?
Well, why wouldn't they?
Well, there's nothing to suggest that she was actually black.
Oh. Well, that's a good question. We really got to think about it. Like, so Akasha.
Everyone assumes that she's Egyptian, but she's from a civilization that predates Egypt.
Right. She's
in a specific region where there were redheads.
which I don't know is historically true. That's here's what it is. It's obvious that Anne Rice has a thing for redheads, as or her whole thing with Armand. And honestly, if you read the books again, she has some perverted things about Armand. Like,
oh yeah.
She's like into that, and so she likes these redheads. Redheaded people in Africa.
Yeah, you know what the crazy thing is? Or do we take the social W? I mean, they did make Louis and Claudia black. Wouldn't it be right, quid per quo, to give the Middle Eastern something? They were very upset after Jada Pinkett's Cleopatra movie. I want you to know that. The people that
yes.
They were very upset.
But people are really trying to prove Egyptians. They do not. Even Egyptians don't want to be associated with blackness. The Egyptian government chimed in on the Jada Pinkett thing, and
I know.
Cleopatra was not dark skinned. She was a whitey. She was so white. Akashic records, is that a thing? Is that a real thing in real life? She says, honestly, just a bit, but I'll get over. This show is so black, I think she's gonna be black. I think they're gonna make everyone they can black, because that's the type of show we're watching, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. You finished season 2. Oh, of course you did.
Yeah, we did one thing.
So I think they're gonna go nuts on the darkness. I think very few characters will be white. As long as my favorite character thrives, I'm good. Bex, who's your favorite character?
I believe it's Lestat.
Why does everyone have such a hard on for this dude? You know what I mean? Like, I like Lestat. Don't get me wrong. I like Lestat. And actually, you know what's funny? I actually think this current Lestat is better than Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah, he's 100%. He's great, man. He's great.
I do like him. I like him a lot. Is he the best? Like, I don't even think I like him more than Louis. I like Louis.
The actor who played Louis brought a lot of depth to him, man. Oh wait, who's her favorite character? Daniel. Oh my God, she's a Daniel fan.
Wait, hold on. We're talking about Daniel from the TV show, right? Because Daniel's very different in the TV show than the books.
Wait, why am I drawing a blank on Daniel right now?
He's the interviewer.
Oh, yeah, he was a young white guy as opposed to an older white guy.
Right, and so the show adds a bunch of stuff about him.
Yeah. Hit play.
Steve just said, "I do not accept your favorite character submission as valid."
4 is something of a moody cult favorite from director Neil Jordan. Unfortunately, the same can't be said about this 2002 effort, which attempts to smash together 2 of Rice's books, The Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned, into a single film. The end results boast a campily iconic performance from Aaliyah, but even this couldn't save the script, which hardly respects the source material and relies too much on hackneyed horror tropes.
Boo back.
It's more than a swing and a miss. It's a downright shame.
Racist about this
Number 16, When a Stranger Calls.
Hello?
The original is so trippy.
Right.
The 2000s saw a near immeasurable amount of
He is
horror
best.
remakes
He's a
clogging the
great
local
character.
multiplex. When a Stranger Calls is perhaps one of the most egregious, while also being forgettable to boot. This is a shame, because the 1979 original delivers one of the most iconic openings in horror movie history, with its calls coming from inside the house moments during the first 20 minutes. The 2006 iteration focuses solely on that aspect of its predecessor,
looks like a
without
bad
the
actress.
trauma and procedural elements that the 79 version explored. As a result, this
It looks
When
like
a
she's getting that
Stranger
eye.
Calls feels like a cheap cash-in, as opposed to a loving remake, and should be ignored at all costs.
We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. You hear me? It's coming from inside the house. You need to get out of there right now.
Number 15, Ouija.
Oh, I hear
As friends we've gathered, hearts are true. Spirits near we call to you. If there's a presence here, please make yourself known.
Our next entry is one of the rare instances where a film's follow-up is far superior to the original. We're talking about 2014's Ouija, which adapts the classic Parker Brothers Spirit board into a feature-length film.
How are you even supposed to talk to someone using a board game? I mean, yo, can you hear me? Signal's real bad. I only got like one bar in here.
There's a threadbare plot here involving predictable possessions, but Ouija fails in the execution. It's cliche after cliche with this first film, whereas Mike Flanagan's 2016 prequel, Ouija, Origin of Evil, improves upon the original in every way. Our advice? Start with number 2 and never look back. All signs point to no with the first Ouija.
Lane, we can stop.
Number 14, The Disappointments Room.
I've never even
Man,
heard of this.
who okayed that title? We'd shake our heads if we weren't struggling to stay awake after watching this 2016 bomb about an evil attic.
Please let me out here! Please let me out!
I got one. I don't know if it's on here. And I just realized how late it is.
There are elements.
Wait, sorry, one more time.
I got one that's probably not on here, but you know, it was a huge horror flop and disappointment, and a certain person we know made such a big deal about it. The Skeleton Key. That movie was a complete,
I agree,
waste.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And yes, we have a mutual friend who was all about it. And you know who put him onto that?
Who?
The other movie guy. You know, you said I'm the movie guy, and there was one other movie guy. The other movie guy swears by that movie.
Yuck. Mantis, did you have fun tonight, brother?
Well, I did, but I want to quickly jump through their list.
Okay.
I'm gonna skip around.
To this film that could have. It also couldn't retain rental space.
She will embarrass me no more.
What the hell?
It's an ad. Let me sit through this. There's a Quiet Place game.
Number 13, 2010's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, that's bad.
Hey, what do you know? It's remake time again.
Oh, God.
This means that multiple actors can step into their shoes with relative ease. Not so with Krueger, but not even Haley.
I didn't want you to remember. I wanted you to forget.
Every now and then, a movie
Haunting
comes
of
around with a
Sharon
premise so
Tate.
strange that you can't help but scratch your head and take notice. Unfortunately,
Never even heard of it.
that doesn't necessarily mean a flick like The Haunting of Sharon Tate is fresh, with its tale of the doomed actor who would perish at cliche and not even all that scary. Number 10, I Know Who Killed Me. The idea behind actors
Did you see
seeking
this
to
movie?
escape
Yeah,
I've seen this. It's ridiculous.
typecasting by gravitating towards horror or thriller roles isn't a new one, and Lindsay Lohan can deny any and all scares a movie has to offer. Then again, when your movie is as poor as The Haunting of Molly Hartley, those denials can arrive with relative ease.
The darkness is coming for you, honey. It's coming.
Was perhaps on
I pay into
Blair
Social
Witch, the
Security
Book
and
of
Medicare
Shadows.
in every paycheck.
So bad.
Mike Lawler voted
So
19
bad.
times.
Yo, it was literally nothing like the first one. So why
No,
would they do
it
that?
was so bad, man.
On the wall that no sequel to 1999's The Blair Witch Project was going to perform as well as its predecessor game.
Jeff, I think we've had enough videotaping for one weekend.
Oh, that's not even believable.
Tour's over.
Number 7, The Apparition.
I don't know this one.
The Apparition may be somewhat forgotten today, but the actual real-life inspiration behind its plot is much more interesting. It was known as the Philip Experiment, and it was a study in the 1970s that asked whether or not the living could communicate with the idea of a fictionalized ghost. The Apparition, predictably, doesn't go the cerebral route.
Don't think it, don't say it, don't think it, don't
Bye-bye, man.
don't think it, don't say it, don't think it.
Who say or think what? Bye-bye, man.
There have been a slew of horrendous supernatural horror films haphazardly produced in the 21st century. The Bye-Bye Man may be among the very worst to boot. Don't even say hello to this one. Number 5, The Wicker Man.
Steve, this is the movie.
Oh God.
The Beast.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
On one hand,
This is the
we
Beast.
perversely admired Neil LaBute's 2006 reimagining of Robin Hardy's classic, The Wicker Man, for the sheer WTF fever dream it brought to the screen. There's also the lunatic fringe performance of Nicolas Cage as the lead, with multiple memorable moments of yelling, screaming, and running in a bear suit to fuel meme generators for a light year. However, as a horror
Wait, hold
film,
on.
it
Did you
fails
see-
in
wait,
tremendous fashion.
Did you see that?
Cutting off
While he's in the bear suit, he punched him. Wait, hold on. I gotta rewind this.
memorable moments of yelling, screaming, and running in a bear suit
Look at
to
this.
fuel meme generators for a light year. However, as a horror film, it fails in tremendous fashion, cutting off the palpable atmosphere of the original at the knees and relying on cheap jumps to frighten its audience. Take our advice. Just watch the 70s original instead.
There's something wrong with you.
Number 4, Fear.com.
Fear.com.
Turn around, baby.
Fear.com. So we go Fear.com.
Watching this.
Fun fact, 2002's Fear.com served as the only instance where the writer of this video walked out of a movie. True story aside, however, time seems to have forgotten the film even exists, other than the instances where critics recall how much they hated it at the time. Fear.com was so poorly received, in fact, that some have called for its reappraisal as a modern cult classic.
I just don't get out much.
Let's see that.
Number 3, One Missed Call.
Oh,
The
this
Ring.
shit used to be
What
so
hast thou
popular.
wrought?
Yeah, she was for a little while there.
If it seems as if studios were scrambling to remake Asian horror cinemas in the 2000s, that's because they were. And largely thanks to the success of The Ring in 2002. Make no mistake, however, One Missed Call is absolutely not in the same company.
Next says Blair
The
Witch
film
Project
can't
the
even
first
compare
one.
with the American
And then
remake
he says,
of The
I remember
Grudge.
when Blair
It's
Witch
that
Project came
bad.
out. I've never been
It wasn't
so scared
even
of- yeah, that was
screened for
crazy.
critics prior to release,
original?
and the reception
Yeah,
by
totally.
fans and horror writers after the fact was almost universally negative. In the Dark.
It was a funeral. It sucked.
Number 2, Alone in the
I don't
Dark.
even know some
Travel
light
light.
movie.
Carrying enough baggage for the both of us, trust me.
The Resident Evil series may be something of an outlier
Oh,
when
yeah.
it comes to successful film franchises that are based upon video games. That's because when movie fans do think of such films and their reported lack of
Alone in the
quality,
Dark. I
they're
remember the
usually
game.
thinking of Drek, like 2005's Alone in the Dark.
I thought you were dead, you asshole.
Just give me 5 minutes, all right? I can explain everything.
Notorious director Uwe Boll brought together Tara Reid, Stephen
Wow.
Dorff, and Christian Slater, and couldn't do a thing with them. There's just zero chemistry. The special effects are also laughably bad. and the whole thing feels like a bad idea right from the jump. Stay far away from this one. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get
Max says,
notified
no,
about
one
our
this call
latest
was decent, but
videos.
the
You
original
have
was
the
way
option
better.
to be notified for occasional videos or all of
Pokey
them.
says
If you're on your
the
phone,
Asian
make sure you
horror
go into your
movies are
settings
so much
and
better
switch on
compared to the American
notifications.
counterparts. I agree.
Number 1, The Devil Inside.
Devil
Have you witnessed a real exorcism, Father?
I remember this one.
Yeah, right after he saw the Easter Bunny.
It was the horror movie ending that made audiences so steaming mad that many are still PO'd about it to this day. We're talking about The Devil Inside and the gall of its creators to end their tale of demonic possession with a text image and an internet link for more information. Michael! To be fair, the film's screenwriters stuck to their guns and defended their decision at the time, but this hasn't helped The Devil Inside rise up from its well of infamy. There have been a lot of demonic possession movies out there that are worth your time. Why would you waste it by watching this one? Over. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo.
Yeah, it's funny that D just said, "What's the one with the old lady in the elevator?" And Beck says, "The devil." Is that what it is?
I think so.
Yeah, there's some bad ones out there. I'm definitely going to avoid all of these. I don't even think my curiosity isn't even peaked. I'm like, not even.
You're going to watch them. You have to watch.
Well, I have tomorrow off, so
that's my point. I'm like, just go ham, bro. If I had tomorrow off, I would sit home and watch. Last year I think I had this day off, and I sat home and watched all the Halloween movies, and that was all the richer for it.
my mind is going to be mush next time you see me, man. I won't even be able to say the word conspiracy, let alone debate its legality.
Let's all.
Did you have a good time tonight?
I did, man. I did. I love when we get into there. Go ahead and look that up.
No, we're debating. That's what. My argument was whether it should be a law, not whether it's fulfilling a definition of a word. Come on, bro. That is all for us at the Fanboy Modeling School. You guys need to hit us up at our Halloween party that's happening tonight, and it's also happening tomorrow, and it's happening on Thursday night. We're doing all of these days on rizradio.com. Please check us out. It starts at 8 p.m., and you're going to hear me, Steve, and a bunch of other DJs just have a good old time.
And really tap in with Mantis and I, man. We put a lot of work into the off-air, no-stream version of Fanboy Modeling School. Tell us what you think, man. We really appreciate it. It was a lot of work. We worked hard for this one.
We are busting our asses for you fucking ingrate. So you better reciprocate by watching us and giving us clicks. Or you can just tell me to go F myself and do whatever you want, like you normally do. Yeah. It is all gravy, but I am the fat man just now in HD. I'm here with my man
Steve, really, gimmicks also in HD.
And we are headed out. You guys have a good one. Right now, it's Happy Halloween. Next time we'll see you will be election night. And so if Steve thought he could avoid talking about the election today, well, not so much next week. And he won't be able to hide behind his little thesaurus or whatever he uses.
It's a dictionary, and it's where words have meaning. They have meaning. Tell him, Bex. There's no fucking interpretational sense of a word.
Well, in my truth.
Oh, Lord.
Well, in my truth, this word doesn't mean nothing.
D, help him out. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week, man.
You all have a good one. Peace out. Love and blessings. Fanboy Modeling School signing off until next time. Peace.
Oh.